Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you to the first HSI Hub Spring Webinar, STEM Hub Spring Webinar Series. I'm Martha Desmond, and I'm going to co-host this series along with Delia Baez and our HSI STEM Hub team, Margie Bella and Nicholas Mendez. Our webinar today focuses on pre and post award management, and we are very lucky to have Jannele Gosey with us from NSF. And I'm going to introduce her shortly. This is our first, as I said, our first webinar of the spring and summer 2021 series. These webinars are going to be held monthly on the first Friday of each month, with the exception if that Friday falls on a holiday weekend, then it will move to the next Friday. So for example, next month, our webinar will be on evaluation, and we're lucky to have Rachel Bourne, who is an experienced evaluator, who will be with us. That webinar will be on Friday, April 9th, which is the second Friday of April because of Easter weekend being the first Friday. This webinar today is going to last approximately 1 hour, and there'll be an additional 30 minutes for questions and answers. All questions for the speaker should be typed into the question and answer box. And if you look at your menu, you can see there's both a question and answer section and a chat section. The chat is for the event that you have any other questions, mechanical questions, or you want to say hi to someone else who's participating today. Any questions for Jannele at the end of this webinar should be put in the question and answer box. Recordings of webinars, today's webinar is being recorded, and we will post the recording onto our HSI STEM portal. And if you are not signed up and registered on the portal, we encourage you to do so. And if you just go ahead and Google HSI STEM Hub, you will find our website and be able to join. And we'll also post it in the chat for you, so you'll see the web link. At the end of the presentation today, you're going to receive a short survey monkey by email, and we would really appreciate it if you could fill that out immediately. This information is important for us in terms of evaluating our program and understanding what's working well and what could use what we could change a little. Also, as an incentive, the Evaluation Center at the University of Colorado, Denver is offering a $15 Amazon gift card, and we will randomly choose from the folks who fill out the evaluation. This week, as I said, our seminar speaker is Jannele Gosey, and Jannele is an NSF veteran. We are so lucky to have her with us today. She is a grants management specialist at the National Science Foundation, and she facilitates the Division of Undergraduate Education and the Division of Human Resource Development portfolios. She administers the grants, cooperative agreements, and fellowships for top 150, for HBCUs, tribal and Native American, community college, and Hispanic serving institutions. So she has her hands full.
Yes.
She has been employed with the National Science Foundation for 24 years, so we have a wealth of knowledge here, all within the Directorate of Budget, Finance, and Awards. Her previous positions include Senior Payroll Technician in the Division of Financial Management. She was there for 8 years. Contract Specialist in the Division of Acquisitions and Cooperative Support. She was there for 13 years. And Grants Management Specialist in the Division of Grants and Agreements, and she's been there for 3 years. She earned her Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Bowie State University and a Master of Arts in Procurement and Acquisitions Management from Webster University in 2014. Thank you so much, Jannele, for being with us here today, and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you all for having me here this afternoon. I'm going to try and give you as much information as I can, but please know and understand that you are more than welcome to reach me at any time you need me. You can call me, Skype, phone, any kind of way you need to communicate with me in order to get the mission completed. I'm here, and I will provide my contact information at the end of this presentation. Joining me today, I'm not sure because I'm sharing my screen right now, so I can't see if she's here or not, but my branch chief, Denise Martin, will be attending the Zoom meeting as well. And when I say she is extraordinary at what she does, you all have access to the creme de la creme of NSF grants here today. So I'm not sure if she's on yet or not, but I know she will be joining shortly. Okay. So I'm a little technically challenged, but we're going to get through this. Okay. So I have today's agenda split up into two sections. I have a pre-award and then I have post-award. So pre-award, I'm gonna give you a quick background of, what is National Science Foundation, talk a little bit about the proposed and award policies and procedures guide, briefly hit on the new awarding and updated performer information, give you a few tips about what can delay your NSF award, as well as talk about participant support costs. Now, once I get through those topics, then we'll switch over to the post-award management. This is once you've been awarded the grant, what you can do to make life simpler for you as well as me, okay? So what is the National Science Foundation? Okay, the National Science Foundation, we're an independent federal agency that was created in 1950, and a portion of our mission of the agency is to promote the progress of science, to advance the national health, prosperity, and welfare, to secure the nation's defense. NSF supports basic research with an annual budget of $7.8 million. We are the funding source for approximately 27% of the total federal budget for basic research at U.S. colleges and universities in all disciplines of science, which include math, social science, even psychology and sociology. Okay. A couple of years ago, we relocated to Alexandria, Virginia, which is just a few minutes outside of Washington, D.C. and Maryland. NSF is organized into 7 directorates, which within those directorates, there are 32 divisions, okay? And some of those directorates are math and physical sciences, social and behavioral economic sciences, geosciences, engineering, biological sciences, computer and information science, and engineering, and education and human resources. Okay, this right here is what we call the Bible, the Bible for grants. This is a copy, the cover page of the Proposal and Award Policies and Procedures Guide. The most current version is the NSF 20-1 version, and I'm sure you all will receive a copy of these slides, and you can just click on that link and that'll take you directly to the guide, or you can go to Google and Google NSF 20-1 and it'll pull it up for you. The best advice that I can give you today is to download a copy of this and save it to your desktop, because it gives you just about all the information you'll need in regards to proposals and awards from pre and post award, from beginning to end. So this is why we call it the Bible for NSF grants. Okay, this is my Division of Grants and Agreements. What kind of awards are issued by DGA? Assistance awards. Assistance awards, the principal purpose of which is to transfer anything of value from NSF to the grantee to help you all carry out a public purpose. Okay, so we issue grants, standard and continuing. So a standard grant is one where all the funding is awarded to you all up front. So if you've been awarded a 3-year grant, you'll receive all 3 years worth of funding. If it's a continuing grant, you'll receive your funding in increments, which is usually on a yearly basis, okay? We also award cooperative agreements, fellowships, and last year, we funded approximately 17,000 funded actions and 4,000 non-funded actions. So of course, the funded actions would be new grants or possibly supplements, anything, of course, that's attached to funding. And then the non-funded actions are usually the no-cost extensions or any other type of administrative actions. And we'll get some more of those once we get into the post-award portion of the presentation. Okay, DGA's role in the award process. So if you look over to the left, program review. Once your proposals come in, program reviews them and they decide whether they're going to recommend or decline. So if they intend to recommend, it comes to my office, DGA, for review. And in my office, it's broken down by the different directorates. So as you were told earlier, I am a specialist under the EHR directorate, okay? So we have EHR, Bio, SBE. The actions get funneled to that specific specialist or grants officer to review. Now, after this slide, I'll go into a little bit more detail about the new awardee and updated performer process, but it can get kind of lengthy, so we can save that for another day, but I will tap on it just so you'll have an understanding. So if you are a new awardee is someone who has never had an NSF grant before. So if the grant, the proposal that you submitted is estimated to be under $500,000, it will come to me or one of the other specialists, depending on the directorate, for review. We will do a financial and administrative review to make sure that your agency is financially viable and you have the systems that can actually handle the award, make sure you have policy and procedures that are in line with the uniform guidance and other regulations within the government. But if you're not a new awardee or an updated performer, now updated performer is someone who hasn't had an NSF award in 5 years. And that 5 years is counted from the end date of the last grant that they've had. So if you're not a new awardee or an updated performer, the recommendation will come directly to the specialist. We will receive it. We will review the budget information, and I will go through that shortly. And then once we do our review, it's either award or decline. And that's where we make the decision. The program officer does not make the awards. They do not obligate the funding. That part of the job is handled in my office in DGA by the DGA grants officer, okay? So if the program officer decides to decline it before it comes to me, I wouldn't know anything about it. He or she would just do a decline, and a letter will be drafted by the system and submitted to you all. But if it's declined from my office, we would send out a letter. And if it's awarded, we would send out a letter as well. But we will go in, that's a more lengthy process and there's more information behind it. I don't want to take up too much time with that today. And that's something that I can speak, because that's the SRO process. So if the SROs would like to meet with me, like for a brown bag or a quick lunch meeting, we can do that. But if you're not in either one of those situations right now, we don't have to worry about it. But once again, if you want to talk about it or if you need information on it, just reach out to me. I'm here for you. Okay, next slide. The DGA review process, items that will delay processing. So once the proposal and the budget is in my log or any of the other specialist logs, what we do is we review the budget with a fine-tooth comb just to make sure that everything is in place, everyone's following the rules and regulations. And these are a few things that can possibly hold up the award of the grant. So the first thing is the federally negotiated indirect cost rate agreement. Indirect costs must be included in your budget, okay? And that's for you as well as any subawards that you all intend to include in your proposal, okay? Now, if you don't have a federally negotiated indirect cost rate agreement, either you're your subaward, then you are allowed to use the de minimis rate. I want to say it was either October or November of last year. OMB did an update to the regulation, and it was, give me 1 second, it was in the uniform guidance, it's 200.214. It was updated to state that if your indirect cost rate agreement has expired, you can do one of two things. You can then opt to use the de minimis rate. You can start the renegotiation process, as well as file for a 4-year extension to use that previously expired rate, okay? So if you want to talk more about that, we can talk more about that at the end as well. So there are a few other, choices instead of, because usually or typically before they change the regulation, if you had an expired rate, we just kept using that rate until you renegotiated a new one. And sometimes people didn't. Some people like to just use the de minimis and never had a rate. But now what OMB is saying is that if you have a rate and it's expired, you can either then use the de minimis or you can file for an extension to continue to use that previously expired rate for 4 years, okay? Budget and justification issues, typically unallowable costs. And I'll get into a few, I'll give you some samples of some unallowable costs, a few slides down, with the biggest, the most that I've seen here lately have been where PIs have been putting like competitions amongst the students that they may have in their budgets, like who may win this competition. We're going to award them, we may have a first and second prize winners. No, we can't have any prizes, no gambling, no lotteries, no competition. All of those are unallowable using federal funds, okay? G6 other, if there are certain costs that may not fit into the other budget line items, so they can be placed in G6 other, but they have to be fully described in the budget justification, okay? So you have to be very clear about what you're putting in G6 other. And then also be very clear about the faculty that's listed in participant support. We'll talk about participant support in a few more slides as well, but as you all know, and I'm sure you know, faculty of your own institution are not allowed to be in participant support, in the participant support cost budget category, okay? If your proposal includes human subjects, you must submit an IRB before the proposal can receive funding, either an approved IRB or one that says that you're exempt, okay? So we'll move on to the next slide. Here we are, participant support. Okay, so participant support funds are for training and conference activities for participants or trainees that are not employees of your institution. If your faculty is to participate in those conferences or training, they would need to be budgeted in the G6 other category. Participant support costs are for stipends, subsistence allowance, travel, registration fees, and tuition costs, okay? Funds cannot be rebudgeted to other expense categories without prior written approval of your NSF program officer. So if you find that you have, you may have estimated more money budgeted into participant support than you thought you would need, you will need, before you can move that money out of that category, you'll need to go into Fastlane and submit a reallocation of participant support costs request. Fill that out, explaining why you want to move that money out. That request will be sent directly to the program officer because it's up to the program officer to decide, to give approval of that, okay? If he or she approves it, you will not receive an award notice, but you will receive some type of notification, but it won't be an award notice like how it would look if you would get one from me, letting you know that you can or cannot move those fundings, okay? Participant support costs, your organization must be able to identify participant support costs because it's not a normal account classification. So in your accounting system, you have to have separate accounts and sub-accounts for participant support costs because indirect costs are not to be charged against participant support costs, okay? And of course, you have to have well-written policies and procedures on how you handle those participant support cost funds. Okay, so we're going to fast forward a little bit, and I'm going to say congratulations. Congratulations on your award. Now, the first thing that I would suggest you all do once you receive your award letter is for the SRO, as well as the PI, and any other people who may be involved to sit down and go over the award letter from beginning to end to make sure that you all have a clear understanding of the expectations and to make sure that we didn't make any errors, okay? You want to also know your solicitation. This is the most current HSI solicitation. That's why I threw that in there. Know your solicitation, what you can and can't do under the award through the solicitation, as well as the research terms and conditions. That is the number one thing to do, because once you receive your award letter, that's all the correspondence you're going to receive from me. So there isn't anything where you have to respond back or sign something back saying that you accept the award. The way you all let NSF know that you've accepted the award is by drawing down the funding from your ACMS account, and that's where the funds are deposited. There is a link in this at the end of the presentation that takes you right to cash management. There are a lot of frequently asked questions, and it gives you information on who your grants accountant is. It gives you instruction on how to log into the system, how to draw down the funding from the ACMS system, information about financial reporting, which I believe is not required because they're using ACMS. But all that information as far as the accounting part of the money will be through the cash management system. And like I said, at the end of this presentation, there's a link that'll take you right there and it will answer any questions. And if you need to speak with your grant accountant, you just look up by state. They're assigned by state. You just go to New Mexico and it will tell you who your grants accountant is and all their contact information, okay? So post-award agenda. This is where we're going to talk about the roles and relationships, project reports, post-award management, the advanced monitoring site visit, as well as some pathways to success and some of those resources that I've mentioned earlier. Okay, what is your role? If you're the PI, then you're responsible for the scientific and technical direction of the project, okay? The PI, as well as the co-PIs, will be jointly responsible for the submission of the project reports. Program officer, he or she reviews a proposal, analyzes the input, and then after their reviews and consideration of appropriate factors, they make an award or decline recommendation. This is from the programmatic side. Grants management specialist, grants officer, that's me. I'll review the recommendation from the program division, look at all the financial and policy implications, processing the issuance of a grant cooperative agreement. Usually when it comes to my office, we have it done in less than 30 days, okay, from the time that the program officer makes their recommendation. Now, the sponsor research office or the office of sponsor research, you are responsible for making sure the award you all are adhering to the terms and conditions of the award, okay? You must ensure that the institution is in compliance with all applicable federal requirements and manage the expenditures prudently, okay? Now, prudently doesn't mean hold on to the money until the grant is almost up. No, we encourage you to spend your money, okay? Please spend your money, because what happens is if you don't spend all of your money and you've come to the end of the award, what happens to that money? The money goes back, it comes back to us, but we have to send it back to Treasury. So guess what? When we get our budget for the following year, it's going to be less because they're going to say, you didn't use all of the money, you all didn't spend all the money from the previous year. So please spend your money so we can continue to get nice size budgets to be able to make nice size awards to you all, okay? The Office of Sponsor Research also, please ensure that the expenditures are allowable, allocable, reasonable, and most importantly, necessary, okay? Make sure they're necessary for the project. Okay, working relationships. In these arrows, this is what I call the big happy family chart. Because once you draw down that first dollar, we're all one big happy family, okay? So typically the PI works with their sponsor research officer as well as the program officer. Every now and then I may receive an email or so from the PI, which is no problem, but if it's something programmatic, I won't be able to help you. You'll have to speak with your program officer. But if for some reason your sponsor research officer is not available or you want some additional information, I have no problem with you contacting me, but you're supposed to first speak with your sponsor research officer. I work with the sponsor research officer as well as the program officer. So it's just one big happy family, okay? Now, unallowable costs, what I spoke of earlier. There's 2 slides, and these are just some samples of some costs that are considered unallowable. Entertainment. I know you want to have birthday parties and social gatherings. I'm sorry, can't do that with the federal funding, okay? It's unallowable. Intramural meetings. We cannot use federal funds for a meeting that was going to happen anyway, okay? So you cannot use federal funds for organized meetings or standard in-place meetings, coffee breaks, lunches, things that were going to happen anyway. You cannot use your federal funds. Of course, alcoholic beverages, no, no, no. Recognition awards, prizes, no. And like I said earlier, lotteries, competitions, gambling, they're not allowable costs using the federal funds, okay? Let's see if I had some other notes on that. I just want to make sure I'm not going too fast and I'm not missing some things. I want to make sure this is a very beneficial conversation, presentation for you all. Okay. Something I want to mention before I go on, just to reiterate, when we make the awards are made to the institution. So we make an award, it's made out to New Mexico State University. The award belongs to New Mexico State University, not the PI. So a lot of times PIs, they work as if it's their standalone grant, but it's not. It is the institutions, okay? So rebudgeting authority, I get a lot of calls and emails about this right here. NSF provides total budget reallocation authority, but you must adhere to your institution's policies and procedures, okay? You do not have to request permission from NSF to reallocate your budget unless you want to move funding out of participant support, or if the change is so large that it may result in a change of scope or objective. Okay, so of the two situations that could come up, you must go into Fastlane and submit those requests that will go to the program officer. Once again, you do not have to request permission from NSF to reallocate your budget. So if you have money in materials and supplies, you may have $500 more than you needed and you need to put it into salary. Guess what? You don't have to let us know. Just make sure you're adhering to your institution's policies and procedures and you can move that money, okay? I always get questions about that. Okay, now this is for the PIs. Reporting requirements, annual reports. Annual reports are due 90 days prior to the end of the current budget period, okay? If they are not submitted on time, now you all can submit them, but we need you to submit them in enough time so that when they're submitted, the program officer has enough time to review and approve them. Now, if you submit it on the last day, what's going to happen is there will be, more than likely, unless the program officer is just sitting there waiting for it to come through, there will be an overdue flag that will be attached to that award, and that will affect any administrative actions that your institution may want to have processed, not just your grant, but other grants and any other awards that may be coming down the line that will be associated with that PI, any of the co-PIs, or your institution. So it's very important that you submit those annual reports in a timely manner because it will prevent the award of any pending administrative requests or new proposals that are coming down the line, okay? Now, the project outcomes report is due no later than 120 days following the expiration of the grant. Now, do not submit this report if you believe you may want to request a no-cost extension. Write this down. Do not submit this report if you think that there may be another administrative action that you would like to request in regards to your grant. What happens is when you submit this report, you're letting the world know that you are done. You're letting NSF systems know that you are done, that because it will start to close out the award. Any funding that's left on the award will be sent back to Treasury, and there's nothing else that we can do, okay? Submitting this request is notifying NSF and the world, because it is a public report, that you are complete with your project, okay? Reports must be reviewed and submitted through research.gov. And once again, we cannot process actions with overdue annual or final reports linked to the PI or co-PI's current awards. Once again, I can't stress it enough. Please do not submit that project outcomes report if you believe you may need an extension or any other administrative type action for the award, okay? Because it will not allow us to. Subaward monitoring. I mentioned this earlier with the team, and because this is such a hot topic at NSF, I would like to, in the future, maybe a month or two from now, if we can set up, it could just be 30 minutes, set up a quick meeting, because I want to talk about subaward monitoring, because I want to make sure you all are doing it right, making sure you're understanding what all goes into it. Yes, we want you to monitor your subawards to make sure that they are performing technically, financially, and administratively. We need for you to check that they are not on the debarred or suspended list, okay? And you can do that through sam.gov. And there are a few other monitoring tools that will be helpful for you, because the next slide I'm about to go into is in regards to our site visits, our business assistance visits, okay? And also, you know, like I said earlier, your subawards should also have an indirect cost rate and base. Everyone must adhere to the indirect cost, okay? So now let's talk about administrative actions. So these are a few actions that you don't need NSF's approval. Okay, notifications to NSF is not required. So like we talked about earlier, virtually all budget changes, okay? Budget changes are the PI's prerogative, but they're subject to organizational approval. Like I said, you have to adhere to your institution's policies and procedures. 90-day pre-award calls. If you know you are, you have a proposal that's being reviewed, and you believe you have a fairly good chance of it getting awarded, you can work with your institution to see if they will approve, you know, 90-day pre-award calls. Basically front you 90 days worth of funding. Now, NSF does not get involved in that. We don't have any liability of that. If for some reason you aren't awarded the award and you spent the money, we don't give you the money back. This is something between, it's an institutional thing, if that makes any sense, okay? So the option is there, but you know, just you have to make sure that it's a good chance of you being awarded that grant, okay? Award changes requiring NSF notification. Okay, this right here, you may wanna write this down. I call it the freebie. It's the grantee approved no cost extension. Okay, so what that means is the first no cost extension is considered a freebie. You do not have to get NSF's approval, program officer approval. You'll go into Fastlane. There's an option for a request. It says grantee approved no cost extension. So that is your first freebie. You will not receive an award notice from NSF, but if you were to log into research.gov after you submitted that request, you will see where the additional time was extended, okay? Short-term absences of PIs or co-PIs less than 90 days, same thing. You won't receive an award letter or anything like that, but you will receive a notification, okay? Those are just a couple of samples of award changes that requires notification. Now, these are some award changes that requires NSF's prior approval. Subawarding or transferring out an NSF award. So if you want to add a subaward to your current proposal, you will need to go into Fastlane and submit that request. In that subaward request, you'll need to give an explanation of, why you want to add the subaward. There also must be the subaward's budget, not your budget, but the subawardee's budget. So at the top, it should reflect the name of the subaward or subawards that you're adding. The budget sheet will look just like the same budget that you've created when you submitted your NSF grant proposal. Make sure in the request that you also include indirect cost rate, base, and deduction for the subawards, and a budget justification. And that's pretty much it. You will do that for each subaward that you want to add. Once you submit it, it goes to the program officer. The program officer funnels it to my office and we'll process it, and you'll receive an amendment stating that, you've been given permission to enter into the subaward agreement. Now, once again, you have to do this for every subaward that you want to add. Just because you have approval to add one does not give you a blanket approval to go in and just, add on more, not in the system, but I mean behind the scenes. For each subaward, you will have to submit a request, okay? If there's a change in objective or scope, Fastlane, go in there and submit your request. Change in expiration date, which is the no-cost extensions, but you make sure that you utilize your freebie first, because if you go into the system and go directly to submitting a no-cost extension request, this one right here that will come to us, you can't go back and get your freebie. So utilize that freebie, and that's why I call it the freebie. And then also for PI, and co-PI changes, such as withdrawal or change of PI, co-PI, let us know as soon as possible, because if that PI or co-PI has overdue flags associated with them, it can turn into a big mess. So as soon as you know someone is leaving or coming onto the grant, go in the system and submit those notifications, those requests. Okay, this is just a screenshot of what the fastlane.gov screen looks like. So right here, this is where the grantee approved no cost extension. This is your freebie. Now, the regular no cost extension, let's see, where is it? Right over here, the NSF approved one is over here. So do this one first if you need to, and then after that, if you need to come back for another one, this is where you would select for the NSF approved one, okay? Now, the advanced monitoring site visit. Okay, this is where my office and my sister directorate, Diaz, with the cost analyst work. We perform 30 site visits each year. Of course, this last year, they've all been virtual, and we're still doing them in a virtual stage. However, we used to come to some, I'm not sure if you've ever had a site visit or not, but I'd say about half of them are done in person and the other half are done virtually when we're in a normal, working period. We do 30 visits a year. They're selected by a risk assessment algorithm. So once again, this is a business assistance site visit. It's not an audit. It's not an aha moment for us. We're there to help you to make sure that you're following your policies and procedures, and making sure your policies and procedures are following the uniform guidance, okay? The risk assessment typically if someone has like the bulk of their budget is in participant support, that may raise a flag for us to come out. Subawards, if someone has a lot of subawards, will come out, but that's basically, or there's a follow-up from a desk review that's needed, but it's just to help you all. It's not, like I said, it's not for us to find out who's not operating properly so we can turn you into the IG. No, it's not, it's not that type of visit. We're there to help you. Okay, so what happens is once we find out which site visits we've been assigned to, we will start prepping the site visit. So we'll send out a confirmation letter. And this is for the SRO and the PI. We also speak with the PI as well because we want to make sure, that the objectives are being met and everything is of course, but it's mainly a site visit with the SRO in that office. So we're going to send a confirmation letter out for you to use as a guide, letting you know what we'll need samples of or what award modules will be there to review. And the best thing is just to be prepared, make sure your documentation is organized, and just don't be fearful of it. We're there to help. If you need help with anything, you'll have us there. Well, virtually now, but we're here and we're just here to help. It's like I said, it's not an aha moment or anything like that. Let's see. So these are the resources on the NSF homepage, access to the PAP guide. I put here a link for you all to subscribe to program announcements and updates. So, as new solicitations and updates become available, you can subscribe to it and they'll come directly to your box instead of having to always log onto nsf.gov all the time to find out what new solicitations are out. And also a link to that cash management information that I was talking to you about earlier. I'm sure you all already have this information set up, but it's always good, as a resource. It's updated every year and it can be found at that same link. Let's see, I want to see if I'm forgetting anything. Once again, when the award is made, it's made to the institution. So if for some reason the PI on an award decides to take a position at another institution, that's what will be called a PI transfer if New Mexico State University allows the PI to take the award with them. Now, NSF, we can't referee in the negotiations or anything like that because it's up to the institution what they will allow or if they will let the PI take it with them. Trying to think if there's anything else that I'm leaving out. I don't think so, but I really would like to have a separate meeting in regards to the reviews as well as the subaward monitoring. I definitely want to set that up for a later date. So these are just screenshots of funding, where you can find the funding opportunities. If you were to go to nsf.gov and just scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll see funding opportunities and it'll bring you to this screen here. And you can, if you wanted to start from A or if it's a specific solicitation you're looking for, just click on the alphabet and it'll take you right there. You just click on the blue link and it'll take you right to the solicitation. Over here, merit reviews, a lot of information on how you can, whether it's the PAP guide as well as award administration information that's on that page as well. Okay, pathways to success. Make sure that you're following and focusing on the objectives of the process. Make sure you're following the PAP guide, the most recent version, 20-1, and your solicitation. I'm not sure if your award has been awarded under this number, but if this is HSI, make sure you're following that specific solicitation, okay? And it is in your award letter. Adhere to the policy and procedures of your institution. Keep official records to include sign-in sheets, invoices, receipts in case of an audit or a site visit, okay? have good accounting practices. And like I said earlier, spend your award funding, okay? One thing I like to leave institutions with, what I came up with, I call them the 4 C's. Copy. I say policies and procedures. I'm sure you may have policies and procedures in place, but I tell this to a lot of the smaller institutions or, up and coming institutions. If you don't have policies and procedures or you don't know where to start, copy. Go to one of your larger institutions, see what they're doing, how they're handling. I'm not saying you have to follow them to a T, but use them as a template, as a starting point for your own institution's policies and procedures, okay? If theirs aren't strong enough. Converse, basically communication. Communication is the key to a successful brand. You have to communicate with everyone all the time about everything. That's why I say don't ever think that you are being a nuisance or a pest, or I'm keeping a tally of how many times you call me or email me, because I'm not. I would prefer that you contact me as soon, even if you're like 100% sure of your answer, but you still have that little glimmer of doubt, contact me. Contact me, because we don't want, if we can stop any issues early, that's what we'll do. So please conversate, call me any way you need to get in touch with me. Collaborate. Collaborate with some of the smaller institutions, some of the other underserving institutions. Collaborate, help each other, pull each other up. We're stronger together, because it's not just about us. It's for the future, it's for our kids, grandkids, and so on, It's all about making this world a better place. That's basically what it is. And caring, that's my golden rule. You have to care about what you're doing. And I know you all care about what you're doing because you're here right now. I'm here, So once again, anything that you need, please feel free to reach out to me. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, okay? So I am just so happy that I've had the opportunity to meet some of you all that I've spoken to, and just being here to share the information that I have. Now, if you have specific situations that you'd like to discuss offline, please feel free to send me an email. We can set up a meeting. If you would like me to reiterate, if you want me to do another webinar, whatever you need, just let me know. That's what we're here for. So I'll go to the last slide. Ask early, ask often. Please ask early, ask often. And this is my contact information. That's my name, my email address, and my phone number. So please feel free to give me a call or email whenever you need me, okay? And that's all that I have for right now.